Meeting to order. Approval of the minutes. I assume everyone's received a copy of the minutes. And do I hear a motion to accept from somebody?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, opposed, like sign? Okay, that has passed. Reports, Region 1, Sarah?
I don't have anything new on either one.
Okay. And Region 2, Tammy?
Nothing from 6 to report, or no concerns. Rescue 2, we've just purchased, and hopefully, or it came yesterday, we just don't have it installed yet, a unit for the back of the Polaris to assist in bringing a patient out if necessary. Going to get that in. Just had a successful fundraiser selling plates at the car show last weekend. And then we've got 4 of our members in the EMR refresher class. There's a total of 9 in the class, so that's
Yeah, that's UN 22?
22, and there's a guy from,
One for 14 and one from 12.
and then
Great.
one from 14. So
That's super. Okay. Michael?
I have nothing new to report.
Okay. And 7 and 8, we had a couple calls lately. Sure would like to see our response a little better. Buy more equipment every day. Our new dive chiefs like to spend money. Good things, though. So that's all I have to report. Radio communications. We're,
22.
pardon me? Sorry.
He's been here, he's been gone.
Did I skip 4?
You skipped 20, yeah, you did skip Region 4.
I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Are you here? Are you back?
I'm here. You know what, the chief of Rescue 22 is absent for 3 months, and the squad did quite well without him being present, so I'd like to report that.
Scary, scary.
Yeah, really. We have 2 members that are currently recertifying. We're losing 2 members who are resigning, but we have 2 potential new members, so things are kind of even keel. And that's all Region 4 has to report.
Okay. Any other regions to report? Okay. Radio communications reports. We've been having meetings, we've been planning, having a problem with the rescue chiefs and the fire chiefs getting back to the radio committee. Requests have been made for them to report on poor reception areas for digital in their response areas. It's going to be difficult for us to do testing in areas if we don't know where we have to test. I'm going to continue to remind them monthly with emails. But in the end, if we don't hear from them, that means that they don't have any weak areas in their districts. We've gotten in the testing receiver. Is that correct, Scott?
It's not, it's been ordered, it's still,
Oh, okay.
it's still back ordered, but it's
Good.
in processing somewhere.
That's good. So we hope to commence doing the testing as soon as the equipment's arrived. And again, this testing is just so that we know if there are weak areas where if we put in a local receiver or repeater, it will assist in that area and the nearby areas.
Steve, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I was reading the minutes, and there's going to be a repeater on the Nimmons Bridge water tower. Well, that's right in 22's district.
That's been approved.
Yeah, so
Now,
certainly will improve it. When, any idea on time frame? Did you say?
no, I understand the approval has come in from the people who control the water tank. They've given the county permission. I don't know how long it will take for Travis to find the money, or, do you know, Scott?
I will check with him. Last time I heard, we were waiting on a few things that had to be purchased in those, and that they were finalizing that, but unfortunately, we all know that a lot of electronics are having some deadlines and times to get in a little longer than normal, so I already jotted it down. I will get an answer for you and email the commission what he says.
Okay. And the other thing is the fire chiefs and rescue chiefs also have to let us know if they want to communicate with other areas around them that are not normally in our radio channel that we use, so we can arrange for that. And they need to make sure all their members have digital portables and all their apparatus is equipped with digital mobiles. And I'll keep reminding them of those. Okay, Deputy Chief Carroll.
Hey, good evening. Update on Epi and Narcan. We rolled it out. Some of the stuff has come in. So far, Rescue 1, 2, 5, and 6 have personnel taken a training. 4, as they get members in, I'll hit those because most of those are going through with the new EMR training. Any questions on that? Chief Smith, I'll get with you, or get the rest of the stuff to you.
Yeah.
And Chief Bryce. IDs. As we know, county IDs, we're going to a year-long expiration date on them, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Put some stuff out to some of the rescue chiefs that he needed some info to get from them on updating their IDs. With that said, personal accountability, personal accountability on scenes. It's kind of hit and miss. Fire talked about it at a commission meeting. We need to come up, they're working on a updated SOG for doing accountability on our scenes. So more to come on that, and input would be welcome from everybody and from all around, since we all use these on different types of scenes. Any questions or comments?
Like, one of the things that's gonna will be very helpful when it comes to, the IDs, is encourage your members to make sure we get training, your certifications, all that in, so that it's easy to identify the next year. If you're on a 2-year or a 3-year card, if we have that expiration date, you don't have to provide that every time if it's in ERS. And so if everything is in ERS, it's easy to check and make sure that you're eligible for a card. But if you don't have your physical in ERS, you don't have your credentials in ERS, it's not, we can't look at it. And so how do we issue a card that says you're this type of person? So we want to make sure that, we take a little bit of time, try to get that stuff in. We're trying to do a better job of keeping it up to date and getting the appropriate information in there. So pass it around to the squads, help us get those dates correct as you get a new card, a new CPR card, one of those kind of things, so that we can try to track it better. We're looking at new ways, adding a few columns to the quarterly report that we can actually try to help. Steve does a great job of doing all these IDs, and we're actually looking at changing our ID a little bit to help us. In the whole, as a department, help us, both fire and rescue. But at the same time, it's only as good as the information we put in. And if Steve has to continually call other departments or other people to get the information he needs, it's very time consuming, and he already does a huge job for us as it is. So I would encourage you, please pass that around. If it's training, Let's get it put in ERS so that it can easily be seen. We'll put it in the quarterly reports as we make that and try to tweak this to where we get the information quarterly on what we need and those kind of things further.
I think if we put another column in the quarterly reports for ID expiration, that would help the chiefs. But in addition to that, it would really help the chiefs if we also put in the CPR expiration and the medical expiration, since all those things have to do with renewing the card.
Yep.
And I think the more we can help the chiefs out by putting it right in front of them,
I think that's great.
I can follow, I'm setting up a system where I can follow when the cards need to be renewed also. So-
Great.
But anyway,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
And any of the medical training that I get in, it does have an expiration date in ERS. It'll come up in an alert. So, any more on that? Let's see. Continuing ed, we still are hit and miss with enrollees that are coming for the EMT program. We need to get that more involved with some of our EMTs. That's put out in Brady, Assistant Chief Norris's upcoming events, and I was just looking at the date for the next one. Actually, they had one tonight. The next one will be in June. The daytime CEP for that, for EMTs, is 6/22.
I think there's one tonight.
That's, yeah.
It
Tonight is-
it falls on this one every
Yeah.
other month.
So 6/22 is the next one. For EMTs, daytimes from 8:30 to 12:30. Night times on 6/24 from 6 to 10 p.m. And then we're looking at starting one for EMRs in May, and I'll put more out about that.
Dan was telling us the other night that he thought that because there's been so low an attendance to the CEP trainings, that the hospital, he thought, might decide not to continue it, in which case he thought that the EMTs would be allowed again to go to the hospital training. But then Brady mentioned to me that he thought that we might start doing our own CEP. So it's kind of up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, we're trying to see, to see the best option for all of
Absolutely.
us.
And that's just getting some more instructors that are DHEC approved to do it.
Yep.
Right now, I'm not sure if there's anybody else but me. So we gotta work on that, get through the paperwork on getting some select good instructors who can come in and teach not just CP classes, but also come to your monthly drills and help you out there when you need it.
For sure.
And that's it for me.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions?
Brian?
All right, so there's been a lot of questions about physicals, and so I wanted to clarify some of that as we go forward. Again, the first thing about physicals is, when we went out to bid, we went out, and the way it was made, there was a lot of things involved in that whole process, and it went to two vendors to serve both the volunteers and the county the best that it can. That doesn't mean it's equal in cost. There is a significant difference going to Henry compared to using North Greenville. But we know there's the benefit to some of those people that have the history there and that, the need for a brick and mortar facility doing it. And then on the other hand, it's very convenient for other volunteers to go to a station and in one fell swoop, knock everything out and do that. And we're committed to supporting that. But I wanted to, we've run out of money in that budget. okay? We're on 2 years ago, 2 years ago we ran out of money, and then last year we were exactly the same, or actually this year's budget is exactly the same. And so we've had to transfer money in, and that doesn't always mean that physicals are available all the time. And we had a lot of complaints because we had to stop going to Upstate Medical for a little while because we got a big bill in, we ran out of money in that line item, and we had to move money and then re-up the contract with the amount. So we have to make sure we follow the procedures, and sometimes that procedure is not just a day. And so, understand when we said there wasn't physicals, there were still people every month going to Henry's that was already scheduled. We just knew that in that next month, we were gonna run out of money with the scheduled physicals because of the last bill that came in. So we had to try to look further down. In that same time period, we had North Greenville, which we basically pay for 15 if we have 15 or not, but we usually have 17 to 20. And so we kind of budget to have 15 at North Greenville every time. And so as we're budgeting out, we got to a point where we couldn't schedule with Henry because we had all of those slots already filled, but we still had slots that were scheduled with North Greenville. And so we continued to fill the North Greenville slots. We don't have a specific preference. It is the best, whatever's best for that volunteer to get through. So wanted to explain what happened because a lot of people are complaining that they couldn't go to Henry, they couldn't do this. Henry's back open now, but we're almost out of money again from the amount we put in there, and we're having to transfer more money into that budget. So, that's just something that we're working through as it comes in. But there is, on our perspective, it is what's best for you, but understand you may not get the exact physical you want. And when exactly you want it, we may have some time lapses that we can't have physicals because of budgetary restraints. There is only a limited amount of budgeted each year for that, and we are having to increase that, which is a great thing. We have more people this year have gotten a physical than we have in any other years that I've been here. That is phenomenal. We'll go back and try to find whatever we can find because people are getting physicals, and that's a good thing. Okay. The other part about the physicals is you're hearing this, and we mentioned it at the fire chief's meeting. We have kind of skirted a lot of issues on response with having this whole cadre of different response types. And the one thing we failed to do is have a cardiac stress test, which is required for response. So everyone will get a cardiac stress test across the board when you go get a physical from us. There is not going to be one where you just see a doctor and you're saying, okay. So everyone's going to get blood work. Everyone's going to get a cardiac stress test. And the reason for that, number one, 50% of all line of duty deaths, okay, are related to cardiac arrest. 50%. Sudden cardiac arrest starts on average in a firefighter rescuer at 49 years old. The average person in the civilian world is 60. It's the stress we put on our heart. I am not willing to take the risk and say, you don't need a stress test when I may save you, especially as a volunteer, and your family by catching something. Every single year, 2 already this year, we caught issues that saved someone's life and ultimately may have ended in a cardiac arrest with one of us working one of our own members on the side of the road. Every time the tones go out, and this is one of the things why we're saying it's across the board, doesn't matter who you are, and this came from GEMS magazine, not a fire magazine, a medical magazine. Your heartbeat goes up 47 to 50 beats every time the tones go off. Just with the tones going off, your body injects epinephrine and your heart rate shoots out the roof and your adrenaline's going crazy. And that's one of the reasons why we start to see heart issues right after a call starts, right after a call gets back, because then we get relaxed. You've broken a clot off, and now your heart rate's going down, and then right after a call, or when it calms down, we start to see those issues. So that is in the future how we're going to do that. There's going to be, only you have to have a stress test physical. This is not to eliminate volunteers. We can't do this without you. We want you here, but I can't, in good faith, not provide that service for you. We've had one of our own have to go to the doctor and have him cleared because literally just within the month to get cleared because they found something on his cardiac stress test. Okay, and they went through it. They cleared it. It's medical, so I don't ask. I'm not allowed to ask, but the doctors were able to take care of that. And every year, I'm one of the people that for 13 years has gone through and gets all these appeals and actually shuffles paperwork. Every year we save someone's life. Virtually. I mean, I don't have that statistically written down, but I know of more than 13 and 2 this year alone that we made a difference. And I know there are a lot of people that are don't like that. I would encourage you to just go. A 76-year-old man who doesn't work out every day and, past it, okay? It's to try to check and make sure there's not an anomaly. It doesn't mean that something else isn't going to happen, but it's to check those anomalies that we can catch that many volunteers and firefighters have that we can correct before it becomes a problem on scene where we have one patient, now we have 2, or you go home one night and have a problem. And ultimately, one of our missions is every one of us go home. So that's the accountability. The reason why we have accountability is so that everyone goes home at night. We all get to go home to our family. And it's a hard enough job as it is for our families to constantly have us leave and leave the food on the dinner table and the wife has cooked a nice meal and or husband and it is. But we've all chosen to have that profession. At least we can provide that somewhat of a help with doing cardiac stress tests for everyone. Any questions on the physicals? That paperwork, you'll start seeing changes on how we're going to do that. If you're a level 3 that doesn't change anything, you're just going to go back when it's your time for your next physical. We'll catch everyone up to the full stress. It's not like you have to go back tomorrow and get a stress test. We're going to work everybody into the physicals throughout the next year as we move forward.
So basically, everybody would be considered level 1, like
Level 1 or
dive
level
and special rescue.
Level 1 or level 2, because if you don't pass the spirometer, it does allow you to be a level 2.
I see.
Because that means you just can't put an air pack on. And that's the respiratory clearance. You'll still get clearance if you're allowed to wear an N95.
I think one of the other questions that has come up, and I don't know that we got clear answers since the changes of the first of the year. In the past, if a gentleman or lady had already been referred to had already been referred to a cardiologist and had their own family doctor, and they knew every time they're not going to pass, they got to go to their cardiologist. Are they accepting their cardiologist signing off on them, or?
So we are working on the paperwork so that cardiologist knows what they're signing off on to make it more explain. The sheet that we've passed out in the past didn't explain that to what the cardiologist was signing off on. Most cardiologists don't know what the standard is. So what we've done is we are putting that, layman's terms is the wrong word, but terms that they can actually look at and go, yes, I've checked this, this, and this, so that it's equal.
Okay.
For those people to receive they're gonna have to go to the cardiologist anyways.
Right.
So we want them to be able to go through that, which will include, they have to have a electrocardiogram. So let us give you the test, fail, and then you would go to your cardiologist. If he's not already doing that for you.
Right.
I don't expect you to go to your own cardiologist and then have to pay for a cardiac stress test that we already have a contract to pay for.
Understood.
Yes.
I was gonna say, when would that paperwork be available?
It's literally on the dockets going back and forth to get fixed, to try, I mean, we hope to maybe next month to be able to make sure you have a copy of it and those coming out. That was a recommendation that came out of, I guess, a chief meeting or something that we've been bouncing back and forth to clarify that better for all of our personnel.
Question about spirometers. You mentioned a minute ago that if someone passed the stress test but they didn't pass the spirometer, they're a level 2. What about N95s though?
So the N95 doesn't require a spirometer.
Okay,
And there's a standard for that, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have it memorized, but we're trying to make sure we include as much of that as we can with the mask wearing now.
thank you.
Discussion regarding future incentive criteria. All right, I asked this of the Fire Commission, and I'm gonna ask this of you, that you put together 2 people that will work with us to build the new program. I don't want to get to October and us say, we've been talking about it all year. Last year, a year ago from, we said, hey, next year we're going to change it. COVID happened and nothing happened, and October came. And we issued it the way we issued it because we didn't have all the data, we didn't have a new program. And was it the fairest? No. There was fair in one way, if you got a physical, and you got pretty good for getting a physical. I don't think that incentivizes what we want to incentivize. So I would like for the commission to appoint or have 2 nominees or however, that 2 of you to work with the Fire Commission's 2 nominees, and Emergency Services to look at the new criteria that we're going to do, what classes will be required, because I would like to get that out sooner than later so people have a chance. If we push this out in August, they have no chance to fix it by October. We're already kind of behind the 8 ball in this. So if we get this group together, put some stuff down, and we can say, hey, here's what it's going to be this year. And if that group needs to stay together and make it a little more robust the next year or whatever, I'm okay with that. But I would like the commission to do that to help us be a part, and for the commissions to be a part of that decision on the process.
The fire chiefs did discuss it at the meeting, and they're doing the same thing.
Yes, they appointed 2. I don't remember who.
I can foresee that training is going to be a problem again because of COVID.
And that's why I say, we may say this is what it is this year.
Right.
Because, we're already halfway through the year and there's a lot of people that haven't gotten together. And that's why I say this group may say, here's what we gotta have. But I want people to have that early enough that they can get the classes. Everyone has to have CPR. Everyone I'm sorry, to be a firefighter, you're supposed to have CPR. Those classes are still going on. And we can catch those up. And so things like that things that every person should have, a physical, those kind of things, meet the criteria we keep in, and not all the extra stuff that we have to, we can kind of look at that. We may not say 50% of the trainings like we've said in the past. Well, it's COVID. There are people that say, I don't want to go to that training because I am at risk and I haven't had my shot. Well, we're just coming through that. So that's why I say making a standard for this year, while that group goes, here's where we're going after that.
It was certainly a nice announcement in the paper today about that there hasn't been a death in Oconee in the last month from COVID.
That is correct.
That was nice.
And if you look at our numbers, they're much better than they were. But I will say, there's still, roughly 214 active cases in the 14-day period of reported cases. And we all know that's only the identified reported cases. But that is way down from the days of we had that many in a day. So we're definitely in a good direction. So after this, Chairman, will you act on that? Okay. Helicopter insurance. We are still in the process of getting that information. We know that the hospital has gone to Air Methods and that we pay insurance for the MedTrans Corporation program. So they don't cross each other. So there's a discussion on where we go from here. We did pay for those active members this year, and some of the squads paid for others out of their money. So know that that's still an active situation, but at least for this year, you and your household are covered. Your truly physical roof household is covered under that insurance that we have paid for. If you have a member that's not sure, please call the office. We'll make sure that we check and make sure they were paid. If there's any questions. I know there was some confusion about that.
Are they gonna send out membership cards like they did in past years?
I don't know, because usually it was already out, because we paid that, so I'm not sure how they're doing that this year.
And Air Methods is not going to be in operation for quite a while yet, is that correct?
The new helicopter is not supposed to be here, is not going to be here, but I have heard that they are doing some flights around, but I haven't heard that, when the time frame is. They're waiting for the new helicopter and paint scheme, but Air Methods had a bird up in the upstate just the other day, so they may be flying, just not with a bird we recognize.
Has there been any discussion about what we'll do if one of our members needs a helicopter and Air Method shows up?
That's what we want to talk to them about, because they do say that they work with organizations and stuff, but I don't have that in writing. I don't have that like we do with MedTrans.
Yep.
So, and I don't know the system, and I'm sorry, we've never had Air Methods in the area, so.
Now, there was a company that got in touch with us, and I think you were aware of it, that will handle any helicopter, any ambulance, anywhere you are.
And it's more per month than we pay for a year.
Okay. I knew there had to be a
Yeah.
cap.
I checked into it too. I was like, that sounds great. You pay for it.
But we'd get it for nothing.
Financial reporting. So earlier in the year, I went back and talked to everyone about the financial reporting program. We're going to be getting with Bo, getting some training for our side to start rolling this out. Steve has been using that financial reporting software for 3 squads already. Takes a little bit of learning curve, but overall, it makes it a lot easier once we start all using it. Number one, the goal is to be transparent. It is taxpayer money, and we want to make sure everyone is transparent. And when someone asks us how much money how much money in operations do you spend? We have this budget right here, but that really doesn't show what operations, emergency services, fire, rescue, emergency management costs within the county, because we've broken it up into so many pots. And so it'll, with the program, it'll help us better track that, better be transparent when we do get questions on what that is, and for that. So you'll see that coming out. I hope that we can push that some more, but to get more and more squads on. Originally, I had hoped, hey, let's try to get everyone on by July 1. We know that that's not going to happen. We want to try to get more, it rolled out to where we can get people on by July 1. And that's our staff that has been crazy busy getting our training, so that we can understand what we need to teach you about the program. And then I'm sure Steve, having done it for a couple of years already, will be a great trainer for us to help each other put that into the program. It's a very simple Excel style program that has a backside reporting process to it, which is going to help us in those reports that we need to generate.
Speaking to Bo yesterday about it, and he said that he'd be happy to sit down with your people.
So we just got to get some time. And we just sit when Bo's available, and we'll get everyone involved in that. We're going to start doing that scheduling, so thank you.
The idea is to do it before he moves.
I know. When's he moving? Tomorrow.
Yeah, bye.
Discussion regarding duplication of names and reporting. This kind of goes hand in hand with the incentive. We need to try to make sure that there's not dual reports. Now, we know that everyone doesn't know that so-and-so is on different squads, but what happens is when we have multiple reports and a XYZ member is willing to be part of multiple departments, he can only be there for one department. He is a physical one person. So we want to make sure to do our best. On the rescue squad, it's not as much of a problem because we all share a report. The problem occurs when he gets put on a fire report and on a rescue report, and we have to pull a freedom of information about all those, and it shows the person twice, okay? And so we need to try to do our best at knowing who the person was responding with during that time. And if they're being paid for by Walhalla, Westminster, Seneca, or whatever, they can't volunteer and be paid for a department. That's not you're not volunteering. They're being sent and paid for by that department. In your case, the hospital. So we need to make sure that we try not to duplicate that, those names. And how we're set up now, it leads it to duplication. And so we're just bringing it up that let's try to reduce those numbers. In some cases, there were 4 reports with the same person's name on it. And we just can't continue to mix up the documentation like that.
If it's being done accidentally, we'll call it, how would you suggest we could help correct it?
We're going to have to look at how we set up ERS, and it is going to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
One report would really fix it.
yes,
Yeah.
and we're working on how that's going to be. And instead of you would have stations instead of all the individual around. But that also is another problem with the departments on the fire side because of Be Safe and some of those other ones. So we're working on the method to best do that, and we're trying to work with ERS to try to figure out how do we make that happen, so we can do that. And that's all I have, Chairman.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion with
Second? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned.